Hi, everybody. Hi, Paul. Today we are going to talk not about one race, but about two that are going to happen this weekend. And these are actually two highlights in the gravel calendar, or pretty important races at the very least. One being Rangso, the final of the Gravel Earth Series, and the other one, the European Championships. And they are actually happening on the same weekend, on the same day, even. What's going on there, Paul?
Hey Thomas, I don't know, to be honest. In the past weeks or past months, there was already not a fight is the wrong word, but like a little thing going on saying who was first, so who occupied that day of the 30th of October 1st. Rangshow is claiming it, also Klasmark, the organizer, but then also I think UEC, which is European right European Cycling Union. I don't know how you this is a French,
Yeah,
I think French short version of it. Anyway, there I think they didn't claim it, but
Un
actually,
Union European, or it's a French, it's the Union Européenne de Cycling, or
yeah.
is it
So
English? I don't know,
yeah,
something like
yes,
this.
yeah. So European Cycling Federation, and so that's the European Championships on Sunday, and Rangshow the final of the Gravel Earth Series. Gravel Earth Series is now, I think, beside. No, let's say there are three big race series, if you can call them. Gravel Earth Series, UCI Gravel World Series, which isn't actually a race series because there's no real classification, even though they're saying you got the most points, but there are no prizes for it. And there's the Lifetime Grand Prix in the US. There are those three biggest. And and the European Championships and Rangshow are on the same day. I would say it doesn't matter who was there first because yeah, it's just how it is.
To
So
me, it's just a shame, to be honest, because these are two relatively important races in the gravel calendar that is not so packed. And it's a shame for riders who are probably interested in competing in both competitions. We will see later several racers are currently on the start list of both events, which is a bit hilarious. And I mean, yeah, just it is what it is. But as a fan, as a viewer, and as a rider, I guess everybody would like that it's organized in a way that people can participate in both events realistically.
yeah, you say it's not so packed, but it actually is packed because of all the UCI World Series
The
races
World
now,
Series,
which
yeah. But let me clarify then. It's not packed with like highlight events that are important. I mean, the World Series races, some of them are really highlights in the calendar, I guess, or developing in this direction, and some others are just races that do not yet have a standing.
yeah, I think the problem there is really that you actually have never two bigger races. Doesn't matter if UCI or Classmark or whatever on the same weekend. So you have always just one, and then you have just in the end you have just how many weekends we have in the year? 52, huh?
52.
Yeah, 52. And the last month was nearly every weekend either a Classmark race or UCI was even sometimes both of it. And now we had the World Championships. 2 weeks before the World Championships was Sea Otter, the UCI was in Girona. And last year, actually the week before the World Championships, was the European Championships. This year, the Europeans are 2 weeks later than last year. I don't know why that is. I guess it has something to do with like the in general UCI calendar. But then also, I think there were some problems with the organization. I know there was another organizer in charge, but then they had to replace him. And now Flanders Classics, who did the World Championships, is also doing the European Championships. And I think on the start list we actually can see that it's not good for the sport. I agree, but at the same time, it's just it's now just how it is. And there's also again another point where we see the sport has to grow in the right way, and there has to be more communication in general. Yeah.
So before we dive into the two races, let's address a little topic that people on the web have mentioned lately in comments, which is we are doing this podcast in English. And actually, when we met and talked for the first time, we discussed it. Obviously, we are both German native speakers, not English native speakers, placed in Germany. Your podcast, people who are subscribers of this feed for a long time, are used to mostly German episodes, and yet we decided to do it in English. And our reasoning, I think it makes sense to just mention it briefly, is really we wanted to do something with a focus on the European gravel scene and representing this, but also reaching people from the European scene at large. And that means we need to find a language. In Europe, we don't have a common language like in the United States, but if there is one language that most people speak, it's English. And that is frankly why we chose to do it. Anything you want to add to this one?
No, that's the reason. We will keep doing that way for a couple of months, or for a few more months to see how it works out. But at the moment, I feel like it's the right direction. But then also the other outside podcasts. So basically, the main podcast will still be in German as long as my guests are speaking German. So if they're speaking English, then I will speak English with them. So, and that's the only two options. Actually, I don't speak any other language. But I hope you out there have you understand this, and you still like to listen to us, even though we're speaking English and maybe sometimes Denglish.
So, what race shall we begin with?
To be honest, I already told you, I'm not really well prepared because we're recording this on Wednesday night, and you're probably gonna listen to it on Thursday morning. And I'm quite busy with packing for Europeans. Have to drive there tomorrow and had a lot to do since I'm back from the World Championships. So therefore, I kind of know the start list. I kind of know the courses, but I guess you are well prepared. So I leave it to you which race we should talk first about.
So, let's start with the European Championships first. Um, it is so my Italian pronunciation will probably be off, but in a place called Asiago. It's
Asiago, yeah, I think
Asiago.
that's right, yeah.
It's between Bozen and Verona in the Veneto region, basically at the foothills of the Alps. And it is also going to be the first qualifier for the UCI Gravel Worlds next year. And as we usually do, let's first start a bit about the course. Um, what are the men going to do? The elite men, that is, they are going to ride 150 kilometers. They will climb 2,400 meters, which is 3 laps on a 50-kilometer course. The women are going to do 2 laps, so 102 kilometers with 1,600 meters of elevation. Before we go deeper into what to expect there, and I don't know actually, Paul, if you did a recon, if you're familiar
No.
with the area there, but something I wanted to touch upon when we previewed the UCI World Championship race, and here I see the same pattern. What do you think about the women courses being significantly shorter than the men races? I ask because in my mind, in gravel, this traditionally US gravel in particular hasn't been the case, and in the UCI on the championship level, it seems to be the trend now. I think in most or maybe even all UCI gravel World Series events, it's also the same distance they are racing, but on this championship level, it's different distances. Is that gravel, or is the spirit of gravel dying?
Yeah, it's always hard to talk about that as a man. I mean, I can have an opinion about it, but in the end, I think the woman should speak for themselves. But um,
I mean, I agree with that, but then let's put it differently. I mean, it definitely changes the dynamic and it creates an advantage for those riders who are comfortable with high intensity on shorter distances, and probably these people who are racing, especially maybe from for European Championships, that it probably doesn't matter what people from the States are used to, but this style of racing definitely favors a certain type of rider over longer distances.
Yeah. So the way I see it at the moment is that, generally speaking, you could see it also at the Worlds, where the woman did a lap less than we did. Uh, our average speed is sometimes much higher, so significantly higher, and I think they're then in the end not so far away from actually having our racing time. Okay, that's probably still like 20-30 minutes shorter, but not much more. And I have seen also races where women did like an hour longer of racing than we did, or even more. So like the Rift, where women actually racing much longer than we do. So I don't know if that is the right direction, because if they're doing 200 Ks or whatever and like a really rough terrain, that it takes for them also significantly longer. So I don't know. I think it's really the mix. I agree that maybe like 100K compared to 150, it's quite a big difference. And for riders like Caroline Schiff, probably 150Ks will be better than just doing 100Ks. But yeah, it's a tough thing. What I hear from most women is they say they want an equal length, and if they want that, then they should get that. And then I think I I agree with them, because in the end it's up to them to say what's the best. Yeah.
And what do they want the sport to look like and to feel like? I mean, one issue that is, I find luckily, and I guess most women agree, is becoming more commonplace, that they get their own races and their own separate starts. And but then probably it also changes the race dynamic. And the point you just made about average speed and duration out on the field becomes more of a topic, or more of
Yeah.
an issue, because there are no men you can draft and so on.
Yeah. But in the end, I think it's it in the I would really say it depends on the course. I wouldn't necessarily say it always should be the same, but I also wouldn't say it should be less. So it's like it really depends on the course. I think at the Europeans, I mean, there's not much options. You do either 2 or 3 laps, so the laps are quite long. So,
Yeah.
but then I think the women elite should also do probably 3 laps, which would be fair to do like 3 times this climb. And yeah, but yeah, it's just not how it is. But I don't know who actually will speak up of them. Like, so which woman actually steps forward and says, all right, I would like that we change this and this, so that it's I mean, no one is complaining at the moment. So
Yeah.
at least not publicly. Yeah.
So let's jump into the details of the course and of the lap that is happening there. So it is 70% of gravel, for those of you counting the percentages to find out if it is a true gravel race or not. And there is a fair amount of climbing, as you would probably expect if you are at the outliers of the Alps. You do not really have a lot of long, steep climbs, even though, as we will see in a minute, there are a few ramps, and especially on unpaved terrain, steep stuff. The longest climb is roughly in the middle of the lap. It's a 7.7K. It averages 3.9%, so it doesn't really look all that steep, but it's really what probably would be called a fake news climb, because it starts with a pretty steep gravel ramp, which is only 360 meter, but averages almost 12%. At places has 14%. Have you ridden this?
No, I never actually recount any of this course, because also that the location of the Europeans was kind of not communicated, but you could see that on the European cycling website quite early on in the year, but you had no information about the course. And I just saw it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, when you could see the first outlines of the course. So I haven't reconned it, but I'm using different routing planner. So actually on Komoot, it's not ideal to see really the percentage, but you have this option called, what is it called? I think Komoot Trail View is that, and that showcases all the. So when people actually taking pictures of certain bits of a course or of a path, you can see the surface, and the climb actually looks quite smooth. It's gravel, but looks like smooth gravel. So like a nice alpine gravel road, you know.
Okay. That is something. So what I did, I put it in right with GPS, and there you can pick different maps, and I used, and then if you pick Google Maps as a maps provider, I used Street View for the climb in the end, which we will get to in a second. But yeah, there are different tricks you need to do. Do you still have, if you go there tomorrow, will you have time to do? You will not have time to do a full recon before
No,
the
so
race, will you?
so Berlin is a nice place to be, but it's really far away from literally everything.
Yeah.
The nearest close city is also 2 hours away, kinda. No, I have a 10-hour drive tomorrow. I think I will be there around like 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a
Yeah, and
small spin.
Friday
Yeah, I definitely gonna
probably
do
cannot do
Friday.
all the course.
No, I'm gonna do all the
Yeah, you
course on
do.
Friday.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
one lap. You can do one.
yeah,
It's just laps.
yeah.
Easy. Okay.
It's 50Ks, so that's like
Yeah.
it's easy an
Yeah.
hour, you know.
Yeah. It's not like a 200-mile recon.
Yeah, exactly.
No, okay, perfect. Then you still have time, because that on paper looked decisive. I mean, even if it is good gravel, like 14%, that is something where you can make, or where selections can happen. Then still talking about the 7.7K climb, there is a lot of more or less falls flat on gravel. Then you do it on paved roads. You have a relatively steep section on pavement with up to 10%, and at the top it's gravel again with up to 6%. I don't know if you checked out what the gravel there looks like, but
No, but I guess it will. It all looks pretty smooth. I asked the local guy, Mattia Demaki, but it was before the course was announced, and he said it's quite rough. But all the pictures I see so far, it looks actually quite smooth. Okay, it looks rough in bits, but not too technical. Yeah.
so, and then once you're done with this climb, there is a bit more up, there is down, a bit of up, and then the one feature that I discovered is like a final climb a bit before the finish, which is 200 meters, only 4%, but it seems to be on grass. It looks like it's in a park, and at least on Google Street View, there was no path. So I assume you're going through grass there, which is
Like, how much before the finish is it? Or like on the lap, on which K is it?
it is. Let me check. I think it's like 1 or 2K. It's in the
City.
In the city, yeah, a park in the city.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. I mean, at the Worlds, they sent us also through like a park just before the finish to make it more spectacular. But yeah, it does. Yeah, what I see here on Komoot, it looks like there's still some paths in that park.
In the park, there are paths, but the section that I saw, well, you will see, and you will let us know afterwards.
See,
but these are the features. Did you, in your prep and interviews, hear about any other main features that we should be aware of?
No, I just actually find it quite interesting that the descent looks quite safe and like a mix of tarmac and fast gravel roads. So in general, the surface looks really, really smooth. So something for fast tires, not for slicks, not for road slicks, but for, I think, fast gravel tires. Yeah. So I don't think we need 50 mil gravel tires, or at least I hope we don't need them. Yeah.
So we did get a provisional start list, and as we already alluded to, there are some riders who are on both the Rank Show and the European Championship start list as at the time of this recording. But let's talk a bit about the riders that we know are going to be there and who are the favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say we know who's there because now I got tagged on Instagram from the organization uh, on on a picture saying that, for example, Gianni Vermeersch is there, but he's not on our start list. Gianni Vermeersch is the world champion, was the first world champion in gravel, and he was last year fourth behind me at the European Championships. Then Lawrence Nasen said, the organizer says he's riding, but he's also on the list for Rangshow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg van Avermaet, Daniel Oss, Peter Wakoc. It's it's on both start lists.
Yeah,
I know
and
he's
Greg van
still.
Avermaet, I just heard something from Rangso. I think it was on their Instagram where they today had a story and they mentioned him riding, Stettiner riding.
Yeah, look, it's so confusing, and also Wakoc is on both lists, but I also know he actually tries still to win Rangshow, where we come to later, because he's still able to. So it's that's really the weird thing at the moment. Also, you can just sign up to any race and you can make double signings, which is fine, but you can also see that their gravel is still like so much at the beginning, because we want to do like a preview and really want to talk about like competition, but then actually we can't, because we don't have the list now 3 days or 4 days before the race, like a final list and so on. So it's there's still potential.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So probably let's turn it a bit around. Given the profile of the course that we talked about, what do you think is the type of rider that can do well there?
So my favorites for the race. So I don't think Petr Vakoc will be there. I don't think then Greg Van Avermaet will be maybe there. Maybe he goes to Rangshow. I don't know. But like my favorites on this time, of course, are not pure climbers, but rollers with climbing potential. Yeah. So like guys like, I don't know. Wait, let me go through the start list. It's really hard to call out names because we don't know if they're actually really there. But Sebastian Schoenberger, who won the first UCI race of this year, and then you have guys like wait, I lost him here. Martin Stosek. He's always good at this kind of races. Like he's climbing well, but he's also quite punchy. So then Frederick Gustav Dahl, I actually know him from the road, so he can be good. Then Asbjørn Helmos, who is going to Orica, Jaco Alula next year. So he was last year in the World Tour, had this year in gravel and goes back to the World Tour. He's living in Italy. I think he will be motivated. So those kind of riders, I think they're really the favorites. There are loads of German continental riders on the start line, but I don't really see any of them like fighting for the win. Maybe Lukas Baum, but he had a heavy crash at the Marathon World Championships 2 weeks ago, so I don't know how good he will be. For example, someone like Frederik Rassmann, who won but didn't win Tracker, but he is not on the start list yet, so maybe that will change as well. So yeah, as you can see, it's really hard to call out names and say, oh, those riders are really there, because it's not finished. And if Gianni Vermeersch is there, he's definitely a winning candidate. That's this kind of race is what suits him. Huh?
Yeah, I would agree. What do you think are your chances to podium there?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like to talk about my own chances. I'm if I have the legs from the worlds, then I'm certainly a candidate.
You can get over climbs of this caliber.
Yeah. So we again we will find out. But I find it in the women's category, I find it more clear, and it's also clearer who's doing which race. And I think it's easier to say who are really the favorites. Yeah.
So, who stands out in the women's field to you as a winner? So, we can go probably quickly through the list and say a few notable names that, as per our information, are going to be there. So we have Rosa Klöser, Caro Schiff, Jade Treffeisen also racing. Interesting, maybe from a team dynamics standpoint. By the way, is it also ridden in national jerseys? No.
No.
Oh, it's not.
No,
Okay.
no, it's in your private jersey. So at the women's field, they actually, if those women I see here on the start list are really coming, then it's gonna be really interesting because we have Pauline Royakas, who was third at the Tour de Femmes this year, so at the women's Tour de France, and she is on the start list. Then we have Yara Castelline. She's a really good rider and also well climbing. Then we have Sylvia Persico, Soraya Paladin. I think Soraya Paladin just finished fourth at the Worlds or fifth, but she was definitely in the front. Then Elena Cicchini, really good road rider. Then Alice Arsufi. Then you already mentioned Caroline Schiff, Rosa Klöser. So actually in the women's peloton, Annabelle Fischer is a really good climber. That's quite good competition. And if all these women from the World Tour are really coming, then we have the really interesting race. And and again, for those kind of climbing course, a high level field again.
It seems to me like on first look that we have on the women's side more World Tour level riders than on the men's side, right?
Now the man is none. If
Yeah, I
Jennifer
mean, you
Mesh is there,
mentioned
then we
Gianni
have one.
Vermeersch there.
Then it's one. And the rest, they're gravel riders, or privateers, but no one I can see on the start list directly from the World Tour. Yeah.
Quite a difference to Worlds last weekend.
Yeah.
What as an active rider and racer, I mean, on the road, for instance, I would say Worlds is one of the most marquee events every year, and European Championships. It's nice. You follow it as a cycling fan, but it's definitely not as marquee. It's not doesn't have the same weight on your palmares. Would you say it's similar in gravel, where all this is just emerging? But just from your perspective, how important is this?
Yeah, sure. Just as you said, but in the end, every jersey counts. So obviously, a World Championship jersey is worth more. Yeah, in all the ways, but becoming European champion or national champion, doesn't matter which country. I think it counts also. So yeah, it's not as important as the Worlds, but still an important race. And I just really hope that in both categories, male and female, we will have a gravel rider winning it, so that actually one of the jerseys gonna be seen all year at races and not owned by
Hidden away.
hidden away or owned by road riders, and we actually never see it. So that's a bit of a shame. But in the end, also, I wanted to say that also after the Worlds, that all the gravel riders also have to step up, so to come closer to this jersey. And it's sometimes easy to complain that all the road riders coming in, but I think we also have to look at ourselves and think about things we could change to be better and come closer.
Yeah, for sure. And then also,
of course, one more thing, to beat a amateur, even on the road, most people
can't do it.
Yeah, so it's not that easy. Also, Marianne Vos, I know that myself, but I just want to say it's
but I
still
mean,
work to do.
Yeah, and I think it is not unreasonable to say you should have a few gravel first folks in the top 10 of their specific races, and that definitely needs to be the goal. And there are, I feel like, different aspects and problems that come together here. So okay, the technicals or flat tires like you had, this can always happen in every race, but then you see some of the top guys not even going to Worlds for different reasons, like lifetime, and not a lot of lifetime Grand Prix representation. And then probably there are one or two pretty solid and strong men and women that could compete there on a different level, but they are not even here. And then the type also of races, I saw a few pretty good comments from, funnily enough, one actually from GCN and the other one the other one on Payson's podcast, Payson McAlvin's podcast, who said like, look, definitely a fully worthy event and Gravel World Championship in his opinion, but essentially the take of both was we should have variety in these events so that different Gravel World Championships also favor different types of gravel racers.
Yeah, but sorry, but we had it last year. Last year was a climbing world championships kinda, and this year, okay, it was mostly the same riders, but it's also because they're really good riders, you know.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
so it's I think last year was totally different to this year in speed and everything, and technical wise as well. So yeah, my eyes we had from last year to this year it
Yeah, I
changed.
think what
Yeah,
some people would like is something like Unbound as a world championship. But I mean, as we know, these courses are not easy to replicate.
in Europe not, you know, but
Yeah,
I agree to that. But um, then ask UCI to make the world championships. So and but it's also a matter of fact that in the beginning of the whole UCI stepping in, the US were or AS cycling scene were first of all against it.
yeah,
It's just how it was. They were communicating that way, and I guess by the time they maybe realized it's maybe not everything so bad, uh, it was too late to apply for world championships in the next years because other countries already did it. I think next year in Nice we will see a really tough course, and probably suits more mountain bikers. And then the thing in Australia will also be a really tough course, and that is more like a what I would call a pure gravel race. But then there again, with the best road riders coming, it's again tough for us gravel riders to win. So that will never change. And yeah, Unbound, everyone takes it as an example that Mohoric comes to Unbound and can't even finish. Yeah, for most people coming first to such a race, they're surprised by how hard it is and then how much knowledge you actually need regarding equipment. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter how strong you are, you won't finish. It needs preparation, and you can't do it just next to your usual race program. And I think if road riders actually would make that switch and say, all right, I'm concentrating really on that, I'm focusing on it, I'm preparing for it, they also are able to perform that because they are just good enough. You know, they just need the right mindset, the right preparation. And it's always easy to say, well, he hasn't performed there, so he's not a proper gravel rider. That's, in my opinion, also bullshit. Yeah.
yeah, agreed. And then
Yeah.
I also think like the variety. The nice thing about the sport is the variety, and I think it's moving exactly in this direction that we see different courses in the UCI world, and that's a good thing. And I guess everybody would think it's great if one day they can find some promoters in the states. And some of maybe state races who are not part of Lifetime saying, okay, we will be this would be cool indeed. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would also like to see more US style races in the calendar or whatever. And one additional thing, we're always talking about diversity in gravel, and that's what we like, and everyone can do what they want. But I always feel that when something is going the way that someone doesn't feel like it's right, then it's not okay to be diverse, you
Yeah,
know?
then we call out the spirit is broken,
Yeah,
gone.
and that's really annoying. So if we really that
Yeah,
open minded, then something like the Worlds last weekend has a place in the sport, but then also something like Unbound, obviously, you know, and then something totally different to that. So in the end, it's all made for gravel bikes, and the Worlds were made for gravel bikes, and it had so rightly his place in the sport on that weekend. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, let's see who is going to start. Let's see who is going to
Rakoc,
become
sorry again, Rakoc just confirmed on Instagram that he's riding. He made a post. So Peter
the
Rakoc
European
is riding.
Championships.
Yeah, he's riding European Championships. So,
Okay.
but it's good. I like that because he likes to race, and it's always good to have more guys who are really going from the gun and trying to make the race hard.
I should open my Instagram while we're talking. I didn't do it, but I also didn't put my phone on mute. So, okay, then let's jump over to Spain, shall we?
Yep.
Um, I also need to switch in my notes to Rangso. So this we're once again in the territory of races that are not actually races, because it states Rangso Gravel is a non-competitive bike ride. By the way, SBT is partially going to be in 2025 as well. If people have followed the SBT storyline, I actually watched. Sorry, I'm sidetracking. I know, but I actually joined the Zoom meeting they yesterday had in the county over there, and it's more or less under a few conditions now a go that SBT is going to happen, with the concept of a ride on Saturday, which is going to replace the green, blue, and all the courses except black, which is not happen as a non-competitive ride. And then on Sunday they will do a closed loop race with a lot of police. That from a little news intermezzo. But yeah, it's a non-competitive ride, Rangso Gravel, but
Just
of
like
course it is.
Tracker and just basically
Yeah.
like every race in Spain.
Yeah, exactly. Funnily enough, last year it was part of the Gravel World Series, and this year it moved to Gravel Earth Series.
Yeah, I mean, the organization is the same as Tracker. I mean, the most events at Gravel Earth Series are organized by Classmark, at least on Spanish territories. And I think they just don't need the UCI status anymore, because they have the Gravel Earth Series now with prize money and everything, and that's the final race. So yeah, they just don't need it. Yeah, I think that's simply the reason they don't have to pay money to the UCI.
Yeah, it's happening in Pons. I don't know if that's the good pronunciation. It's in Catalonia in Spain. The course is 160 kilometers with 1,900 meters of elevation. It's only 12% paved and 88% unpaved. If you look at the map, you will see 5 key climbs, but basically only one climb that is really somewhat steep at the start. It is, and by the way, if you have ridden it last year, it's pretty much exactly the same course as last year. You have a roughly 5 kilometer long climb at the beginning. It's on pretty loose gravel. I watched a few videos from people who reconned it last year, and they seem to be suffering. And it really starts like after 3-4 kilometers into the race, you have this climb, which it's also quite thin. You can fit 2, maximum 3 riders next to each other. In some sections, it's 10% steep, and yeah, it looks gnarly. So that is definitely the selection
I've
point.
done it. I've done it a few years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago. Yeah, I just realized that.
Ah.
Yeah. So
What are your memories of this climb?
It's quite tough. Especially it's getting narrow when you get into it, and the descent is quite tricky. Yeah, no, I actually know that course. It's actually a really nice course. I did it. I
Is
think
it
3
still
years
the
ago.
same from when you did it? In
Yeah,
the
it
later part
seems.
as well?
Yeah, it seems. I mean, I can't remember all of it, but it looks pretty similar. Also, the finish looks similar, and it's actually a really nice course. I did it when Carlos Verona won it. Back then, it was also UCI race. That was in 2022, I think. Yeah. No, it's a nice course. Yeah. I liked it.
So one thing that is stuck in my mind is Kira McVitie. She has one of these recon videos, and she described it as pretty fast after the first climb, and as not so challenging for the area, given that you're in this area of Spain where you're used to a lot of other challenging stuff.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I remember. But then also, I remember when I did the race afterwards, I said it's one of the most beautiful races I've ever done, because it's actually like visually really nice, because you never really crossing roads, and you're mostly on gravel roads. So it's a pretty beautiful course, yeah. And yeah, it's true. It's also a fast race, yeah.
Um, let's maybe talk also a bit about the rules that you have there. You have 3 feed zones, but assistance is only permitted in the second zone, which basically means you can only take what the organizer offers in the first and the third one, right?
Yeah. So that's also similar to that at Tracker and some other class mark events, and that made Frederic Gassmann lose his title because he took feet with assistance,
Yeah.
kind direct, indirect, and yeah, I actually like those rules because it means that everyone is kind of equal, and you have no benefits bringing a big crew with you, because there's just one feed zone maybe, or two now, where you actually can have
3
outside
feed
support.
zones, but only
But
one that is assisted.
yeah, just only one is assisted. So if you come with one friend or whoever, it's one person's enough to actually help you, and you can speak to others, maybe other people who may help you. So I actually like that concept, because you have to really think about your hydration, and yeah, that's actually good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So in terms of people who stuck out to me when I looked through the list, so here we have a lot of names that are big in gravel currently. On the women's side, for instance, we have Sarah Sturm, we have Carolina Megon, Clara Sophie Hansen, Svenja Beetz Racing. I don't know if you have some other names that caught your eye.
No, I mean, you already mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, Sarah Storm's coming over. Then Carolina Mignor. Yeah. So maybe the usual suspects. Morgan Agur. I don't know if I pronounce it rightly. So yeah, the usual woman fighting for the win. But there's also, interestingly, there are actually not so many women on the start line in the elite field. It's quite
Yeah,
a small bunch.
yeah.
But yeah, half of it are quite good. So it's still gonna be interesting for the win. The opposite to the Europeans, where there are a few more women on the start line. Yeah, so it's actually the women field is really more spread out. What the favorites are. Yeah, at these two races.
Then let's also. I'm trying to opening something that is on the website. They have their rankings, but it's only JPEGs of the ranking. That's a bit overall annoying. So the standing of the women field, to give you an idea, because they have a point system, and that is the which consists of the sum of the 2 best scores of the series. So you have Carolina Migon with 1,920 points, Sarah Sturm, I don't
Sturm,
know,
yeah, Sturm.
1,856. Then Gerike Schröers at 1,776. By the way, I heard that she's now also joining a World Tour team. Madeleine Nutt, Caro Schiff in 5th position, Clara Sophie Skofgard 6th, and equal points with Louise Valentin, Morgan Aguirre, Annabelle Fischer, and Flavia Oliveira in 9th position. And then there is no 10th position because of all the 6th and 9th places. So that gives you an idea. We have Svenja, as we mentioned her, she's in 13th position. And these are the standings here. Can you tell us a bit more about the overall win and what the consequences of this are?
You get money. But I don't know exactly the price scheme.
The price purse, okay.
But I know that the last race, I think that double points. So that's why I think something like that, double points. That's why a lot of riders actually have still a chance to win it. So that's also why a few Americans came over. in the women's field, like Sarah Sturm. In the men's field, Rob Britton came over, Pete Stettiner, because they all have the chance, still have the chance to win. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gravel final, like first place gives you 1,500 points, whereas I don't get all the details of the concept. So you have Gravel Earth and you have Gravel Earth Global races. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think Global is like the one in Mexico, I would assume, where you really
no
have
no
to
no no no
no.
no no no. It's global is the big ones like Tracker.
Ah, okay.
And then you kind of need to study for it.
Yeah, I
know
did. I mean, I
yeah, no,
studied,
no,
but not Gravel Earth series.
yeah, no, it's not that complicated, but yeah, it's not as obvious in the first time you see it. But yeah, they have prize money, which is good, which most series don't have or most races don't have, so that's a good thing. And yeah, it's still a pretty open race. I think to talk about who has chances to win it overall makes no sense because there's so many possibilities in both man and woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't create a calculator to Excel sheet all the scenarios, but with 1,500 points up for the grabs, and I mentioned the scores before, a bunch of ladies, if they race and if they get a good placement, have a chance. Yeah, that's for sure. So, and then let's jump quickly to the men's side, and if we can already cut out some names. So Lawrence Nassen didn't yet say where he's going to race, but probably European Championships rather than this.
Yeah,
What should he race? That's maybe an interesting question. What is he more? Which course suits him and his characteristics better?
I can't say. I think both the same. Maybe Rangshow a bit more, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know how hard the Europeans are, and it's also hard to say here on podcast, he's not good enough for this course. So it's I
No,
really
not
don't
good
know.
enough. It would. Okay, let's. I think to me the distinction is like the European Championships look a bit more climber friendly, whereas this one, okay, you have the first selection point with this steep climb I mentioned, but afterwards it's pretty fast rolling. So
Yeah, yeah,
pushing pure watts could be helpful for a
yeah,
Gravel Earth Series final.
yeah. That's certainly more his thing as I see it, but I maybe he disagrees. Yeah. So Lawrence Nassen. Then yeah, as mentioned, Peter Vakoc is going to the European Championships, but then you have Ben Thomas. He's also quite good. Pete Stettiner on these kind of courses always dangerous, but I think it's a bit too easy for him.
Yeah. He
I
should
guess
go
has,
to the European Championships,
he
but
should,
he
yeah.
can't.
He actually can because it's a UCI race, but he's not running for a European title. But he could race with us.
Okay.
And
Pointless.
yeah, then a really
Simon
interesting.
Swenson,
Yeah.
Chet Haga.
Nah, Chet Haga needs an unbound race, really long, steady. That's his kind of races. He struggles with these. At least it feels like it. He's struggling with these kind of events. But Simon Nordal Svensson, he won the Gravel Worlds, so like the Garmin Gravel Worlds in the US, not the UCI Gravel World Championships.
Yeah.
And he also won the Rift for the second time this year. He's definitely a guy for this course. He has a fast finish, and he is an annoying rider. Not in the sense that he annoys me, but you can't get him dropped. He's like a pit bull, hanging on your leg.
Yeah,
so
and the sprint, I think Garmin Gravel Worlds, if I remember the finish there, it was a sprint finish, and he was quite good there.
Yeah, so he is probably my favorite. Then Rob Britton is also more of like a watt machine, like all day long, just pushing. And then Tobias
Kongstad.
Yeah, he could be a helpful hand for Simon Svensson. So there's definitely like this pass racing. I think they have good cards to play.
And I think so. Talking about teams and team dynamics at Garmin Gravel Worlds on the ladies' side, they played it quite well. So probably they are the first team that figures out how to specifically do team tactics in gravel.
Yeah, at least they try, and you still need to have the legs, and most certainly on the women's and the men's side, sometimes quite a few of these riders have the legs, so then they can play the tactic. And I think we will see that definitely in the rank show, that they use the numbers they have. I hope for them that they use it. Yeah. But also interesting rider is Griffin Easter, also American, coming over. When he's in shape, he's always a dangerous rider. So there are like a few good guys over there. But I would say that Svensson is the favorite for me. Yeah, if he doesn't puncture or anything.
So overall, man, top 10, we have Hugo Dréchou at the top position with 1,808 points. Then Simon, that who we just talked about, at the same number, also on first position. We have Rob Britton in third, 776, 1,776 points. Hans Becking, just 16 points behind him, same points like Pete Stettiner. And then we have Marcus Ovinen and Peter Vakoc with 1,750 points. S has Mattia De Marchi. Ninth position is Chet Hager and Griffin Easter. And that is the top 10 because there is no 10th because of all the double placements. So probably they should get a bit more differentiation in the points they give, so you have more clear numbers in the rankings. But that's just one little suggestion. So pretty much here, if Simon Nordal Svensson wins as you suggested, he would definitely win the series, but it's still close, and many of the guys in the ranking definitely still can rise to the top.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Par Racing can play it smart and can go for a little band sprint, and then it should take that thing home.
One project that I will definitely finish in the off season is to create this full map of people and teams in gravel, which probably is then changed by the next season again. But we really don't have like a good pro cycling stats or something with all the gravel teams and where the riders belong. And this becomes next season in like, I guess, all the competitions and series we talked about will become more interesting and more important to have a clear view of the teams and the riders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not part of a team, so
Yeah, you're not, but
yeah. So you just want to put teams together, or
no, I want to have like a good database set up where all the riders and all the teams, at one view you can see which rider is on which team.
okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
Because I think for what we're doing here, it becomes increasingly important to have this top of mind and at hand, and probably also for at some point the people out there.
Yeah, yeah. The winter is long.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh,
All
good.
right. I guess
Then
that's it from my side.
yeah, I have nothing to add. I will go to bed now, and yeah, you guys can hear us next week. No, one more thing. If you have 23 minutes spare, just watch the new YouTube video of mine on my outside channel about the Gravel World Championships. Yeah, there are some more background information. It's actually in German, but you can choose for English subtitles. And yeah, that's it.
And then subscribe, like, spread the word, and
Yeah.
watch the races or follow the races on social next weekend.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, you maybe get live pictures from the Gravel Europeans, because I know that the Belgium TV is there. So maybe we see something. All right. See you.
Bye bye.